The summoning circle glows like molten silver on the polished marble floor of the Manhattan penthouse tower. Elias Vandrow stands in the center, in a tailored black suit, and a dark blue tie that probably costs more than most people earn in a month. Candles float in the air around him, each flame bending toward the center as if dragged by an invisible tide. Outside the glass walls of the tower, New York blazes with midnight light, Wall Street still wide awake and busy far below. Spirit of purest light, child of forest and star, answer my call and appear before me, Elias says, voice low and precise. The ancient spell hums in his veins, old magic tangled with modern skyline, and the buzz of distant traffic. Lightning crackles along the edge of his wand and leaps into the air, feeding the glowing lines carved into the marble. Above the circle, the air ripples like heat on asphalt, and folds in on itself, forming a whirlpool of white and green light. The contract sigil on the floor flashes brighter than the city beyond the glass, and the room fills with the scent of pine and rain. This is it, Elias murmurs, closing his eyes as he feels the spell lock into place. If he succeeds tonight, the curse that has stalked his family for centuries will break, and he will live past the age of 30. If he fails, he will die like every Vandrow heir before him, leaving only a line of portraits and empty chairs at family dinners. The light explodes with a sharp crack, like thunder trapped inside glass. Elias opens his eyes, ready to greet the graceful pure spirit promised in the oldest texts of his bloodline. Instead he sees a girl in a crooked dress made of leaves and vines, her bare feet planted right in the center of the circle. Her long brown hair is braided with tiny flowers, and there is a bright red lollipop stuck between her teeth. In her arms she is hugging a very offended-looking squirrel that stares at Elias as if he just insulted its entire family. The girl turns in a slow circle, taking in the crystal chandelier, the floating candles, and the skyline glowing beyond the glass. Wow, she gasps, eyes shining with genuine wonder. This hotel is crazy, it even comes with floating candles, she says. What is the Wi-Fi password, and do you offer free breakfast? Elias just stares at her for one long, silent heartbeat. The candles flicker in a rush of cold wind that is not coming from any open window. This is not possible, he says. You are not the spirit of purest light. The girl blinks at him and crunches down on the candy, with a loud crack that makes the squirrel flinch. I am Lily, she says with a bright smile. I was walking through the redwood forest, then I saw this weird glowing portal thing, and now I am here. She pauses as if a thought finally catches up with her. Also, I think I might be lost. Elias feels his jaw tighten until it aches. He lowers his wand a fraction and narrows his gray eyes at her. The spell is designed to summon a pure spirit, not a confused tourist from California, he says. Lily gasps and clutches the squirrel closer. I am not a tourist, I am a forest sprite, she says. I live in the redwoods, I talk to squirrels, I grow little flowers when I sneeze. To prove her point, she raises her free hand and flicks her fingers. A tiny white daisy pops out of the polished marble floor between them. It looks very confused about being in a Wall Street penthouse. Elias stares down at the flower, and then up at her again. One flower does not make you the answer to a 500-year-old curse, he says. You must leave at once. Lily beams at him instead. So you are the concierge, she says. Do you have room service? I am Elias Vandrow, head of Vandrow Capital, and heir to the Vandrow Coven, he says through his teeth. This is my tower and my summoning circle. The squirrel chitters aggressively at Elias as if it wants to fight him in the parking lot. Lily shifts from foot to foot, looking around at the glass walls and the floating candles again. So this is like a magic penthouse suite, she says. Do you have a spa, maybe a hot tub, maybe a pillow menu? Elias lifts his wand again and starts to form the words that will unravel the summoning. Before he finishes the first syllable, the circle under Lily erupts in a burst of white light. Pain stabs across his wrist like a brand pressed to his skin. He hisses and looks down. A glowing silver sigil unfurls across his wrist, the lines twisting into the shape of leaves and stars. At the same time, a matching mark appears on the inside of Lily's wrist, glowing a soft pale green. She squeaks and almost drops the squirrel. Ow, that tickles, she says. Is this a tattoo? Did I just get magical inked for free? Elias feels the magic surge through the air and lock in like a door slamming shut. The candles flare, then settle back into steady light. The circle on the floor fades, leaving only the scent of pine and burned sugar in the air. No, he says. The word lands like a stone in his chest. That was the binding sequence. Lily squints at her wrist, then at his. We are matching, she says brightly. Is this some kind of couple discount? Elias takes a slow breath, then another. He can feel the contract wrapping around his heart and bones, as firm as steel, and as stubborn as the Vandro pride. Listen very carefully, he says. You and I are now bound by an ancient magical contract that cannot be broken without killing one or both of us. Lily tilts her head and hugs the squirrel even tighter. That sounds intense, she says softly. Do I still get free breakfast? Somewhere behind Elias, a door opens with a soft click. Samuel, the Vandro family butler, and resident wizard for longer than most empires have lasted, steps into the room with a steaming cup of tea on a tray. His silver hair is slicked back and his dark suit is pressed to perfection. He stops when he sees the girl in the summoning circle. The teacup rattles against the saucer, just once. Good evening, sir, Samuel says slowly. I see the summoning was successful. Elias closes his eyes for a moment. That is debatable, he says. Lily waves cheerfully at Samuel with the hand that is not covered in glowing ink. Hi, I am Lily, she says. I think I am the successful part. The squirrel squeaks and waves its tiny paws as if to agree. Samuel looks from her leaf dress to the glowing sigil, and then to Elias. She is a forest sprite, Elias says, pinching the bridge of his nose. A chaotic one. Lily gasps again. Rude, she says. I prefer the term free-spirited. She shifts her weight, and her elbow bumps against a slender glass bottle standing at the edge of the circle. The bottle wobbles once, twice, and then tips over in slow motion. Thick purple potion spills across the marble, and the summoning sigil, fizzing as it hits the carved lines. The little daisy on the floor trembles, then explodes into a cluster of mushrooms that grow so fast they push Lily a step back. The squirrel scrambles up onto her shoulder and chatters in pure rodent panic. Elias lunges forward, but he is too late to save the potion, the circle, or his carpet. He stares down at the spreading mushroom patch that looks like it wants to file a lawsuit against him. Lily lifts her hand like a kid caught in class. So that was my bad, she says. But in my defense, your bottles stand very close to my personal space. Elias turns his head slowly toward Samuel. Please tell me that was not the draft of condensed good luck that took 18 years to brew, he says. Samuel clears his throat. At least the mushrooms look healthy, sir, he says. Lily brightens immediately. I can make them cute, she says. She snaps her fingers, and the mushrooms sprout tiny white flowers on top, turning the disaster into a fairy garden. Elias wonders if it is too late to ask the curse to just go ahead and kill him now. You are not staying, he says firmly. The contract was not meant for you. Lily looks at her glowing wrist again, then at him. For the first time since she appeared, her shoulders droop a little. If I leave, does it hurt you? She asks quietly. The question hangs between them, heavy as the city sky about to rain. Elias swallows his first answer, the sharp one. Leaving would break the bond, he says in a measured tone. Breaking the bond would tear your magic away and shred mine as well. Samuel nods once. You would both die, sir, he says. Lily goes very still. Then she gives Elias a small, crooked smile that does not match the bright sparkle she had a moment ago. So I guess I am checked in for a long stay, she says. Do you offer loyalty points? Elias lets out a breath that feels like defeat. Samuel, prepare a room for our uninvited guest, he says at last. And triple lock the potion cabinets. Lily bounces on her toes again, cheerful color flooding back into her voice. Yes, I get my own room, she squeals. Please tell me there is a view, and maybe a mini fridge. The squirrel on her shoulder chitters happily, clearly voting yes. Samuel bows with professional calm that barely covers his amusement. Right away, sir, he says. As he leads Lily out of the summoning chamber, Elias looks down at the glowing mark on his wrist. The lines of light are warm against his skin, a constant reminder of the chaos he just invited into his life. He lifts his eyes to the city the curse has chained him to and imagines, for a strange slippery second, that maybe chaos is exactly what he needs. The next morning, Elias regrets everything before he even leaves his bedroom. He opens his eyes to the faint sound of something scratching at the glass wall. He pushes himself up on one elbow and frowns. A squirrel is pressed flat against the outside of his floor-to-ceiling window 30 stories up, claws splayed, face squashed. Another squirrel runs past on the narrow window ledge as if the height means nothing. Lily is standing in front of the window inside the room, hands lifted, eyes glowing pale green. Good morning, roommate, she chirps. I am just giving the local squirrels a rooftop tour. Elias swings his legs out of bed, every instinct on high alert. You opened a portal to the ledge, he asks. Or did you put a forest spell on my building? Lily drops her hands and the glow fades. The squirrels outside chatter and scamper away as if nothing happened. Relax, she says. I just asked the trees to tell their squirrel friends that this is a cool place now. They came to look, no big deal. Elias stares at her for a long moment. No big deal, he repeats slowly. The security team will love that explanation when they check the footage and see a squirrel sky parade. Lily shrugs. You are the boss, she says. You can just tell them it was a marketing stunt. Elias presses the heel of his hand to his forehead. Do not talk to the building, he says. Do not talk to the squirrels. They started it, Lily protests. She leans closer, eyes bright again. Anyway, what is for breakfast? Samuel appears in the doorway, as if summoned by those exact words. He carries a tray with a silver pot of coffee, a stack of pancakes, and a small bowl of glowing blueberries that radiate faint magic. Good morning, sir, Samuel says. And good morning, Miss Lily. Lily gasps when she sees the food. You have actual pancakes, she says. And magic berries. She grabs a berry and pops it into her mouth. Her hair stands on end for a second, and then settles back down in soft waves. They taste like blueberry soda and sunshine, she says through a mouthful. Elias sits at the edge of the bed and picks up the coffee cup. He takes a long sip, hoping caffeine can do what magic cannot, and hold his sanity together. We need rules, he says, setting the cup down. If you are going to stay here, there will be structure. Lily tilts her head. Rules like do not scratch the furniture, she asks. Or rules like do not feed the mysterious glowing mushrooms after midnight. Elias stares at her. How many things have you fed the mushrooms, he asks. Lily looks at the ceiling. Define many, she says. Elias pushes to his feet and pulls on a fresh shirt, fighting the urge to ask for a time travel spell instead of a curse-breaking one. Rule 1, he says. Do not touch any potion, crystal, or glowing object unless I am standing right next to you. Lily salutes with her fork. Yes, boss, she says. Rule 2, he continues. Do not bring wild animals into my bedroom. Lily opens her mouth, glances at the window, and then shuts it again. The squirrel that had been peeking in chooses that moment to press its face against the glass once more. Lily coughs. Noted, she says. Rule 3, Elias says. No magic experiments without supervision, and no calling my tower a hotel in front of guests. Lily grins. I can follow those, she says. Probably. Elias nods once. I am going to the office, he says. Samuel will show you the rest of the tower, and find you something less likely to be mistaken for very creative landscaping. He gestures at her leaf dress. Lily gasps and looks down with sudden outrage. This dress is antique forest couture, she says. But fine, I will try human fashion for a day. By the time Elias steps out of the tower lobby into the waiting black car, he has already answered 12 emails, reviewed 3 contracts, and ignored 5 gossip alerts mentioning his name and the words mysterious girl. His assistant waits in the car with a tablet in hand and a calm smile. Good morning, Mr. Vandrow, she says. You look like you slept almost 4 hours, progress. My life has become a circus, Elias answers. Please tell me there are no talking squirrels on the security footage. His assistant blinks slowly. I am afraid I cannot confirm that, sir, she says. The night security team left a note that just says the squirrels know too much. Elias closes his eyes. Wonderful, he says. On Wall Street, the lobby of Vandrow Capital is all glass, steel and cold art that probably has a 6-figure price tag, and a 3-sentence explanation about how capitalism is a sculpture. Elias walks through the metal detectors and the subtle shimmer of the magic wards at the same time. The mundane security guard nods at him. A second guard who can see magic feels the faint glow of the contract on his wrist and raises an eyebrow, but wisely says nothing. Elias steps into the private elevator, scans his wrist to activate both mundane and magical locks, and rides to the top floor. When the elevator doors slide open, he freezes. Lily is standing at the reception desk, wearing one of his crisp white shirts tied at the waist and a pair of dark jeans borrowed from somewhere. Her hair is pulled into a high ponytail, with a ribbon Samuel probably rescued from storage, and she is leaning over the desk with intense curiosity. So this thing receives calls from all over the city, she asks the receptionist. And you can hear them without any magic at all. The receptionist, a calm woman named Rosa, nods slowly. It is called a phone, Rosa says. Who are you exactly? Lily beams. I am the new contract, she says. The magical one. Elias steps out of the elevator with the kind of speed that makes his assistant stumble after him. Lily, he says sharply. We talked about rules less than an hour ago. Lily spins, her face lighting up when she sees him. Elias, she says. I found your nest. My what? He asks. Your human office nest, she says. You have tiny humans in shirts who answer boxes that ring, and you have a coffee fountain. Elias pinches the bridge of his nose again. You were supposed to stay in the tower, he says. Samuel said you left in a rush, Lily replies. He looked worried, so I used the bond to find you, which by the way feels like a tiny thread tied to my heart, which is cute and also mildly concerning. His assistant coughs lightly. Should I reschedule the 9 a.m. meeting with Mr. Blake, she asks. Elias straightens, pushing the chaos pressing around him back into an orderly box in his mind. No, he says. We will handle both. Lily perks up. Is Mr. Blake the shiny investor with the bad aura, she asks. He is our new partner from Blackstone Arcane Holdings, Elias replies. He is also someone who does not need to know you are a forest sprite. Lily raises a hand. I can pretend to be normal, she says. Watch me. 10 minutes later, Elias wishes he had called down lightning instead. Victor Blake walks into the conference room, with the easy grace of someone who has never heard the word no in his entire life. He wears an immaculate charcoal suit, and a smile that does not reach his dark eyes. Magic clings to him like shadows cling to corners, cold and sharp. Elias, Victor says as they shake hands. Always a pleasure to work with the Vandro family. Victor, Elias replies. Welcome to the tower. Lily sits at the far end of the table, a borrowed blazer draped over her shoulders, and a tablet in front of her that is not even turned on. Samuel stands against the wall, close enough to intervene if Lily decides to start growing flowers out of the projector. Victor glances at Lily with an appreciative smile. And who is this? He asks. Lily flashes her brightest grin. I am the intern, she says. I make coffee and ask way too many questions. Victor laughs. A curious mind is a dangerous thing in finance, he says. Sometimes that is exactly what we need. Elias feels the contract on his wrist tighten as Victor looks at Lily. There is something hungry in the way his gaze lingers on the faint glow of the sigil peeking from under her sleeve. Lily feels it too. She shifts in her seat, the squirrel who insisted on following her in now hiding in her bag, little nose poking out between the zipper teeth. So, Victor says, sliding into his chair. Shall we discuss the merger? The meeting starts like any other Wall Street negotiation. Charts flash on the screen. Figures are thrown around like spells. Elias keeps his expression calm, his voice smooth and professional. All the while, a quiet thread of magic hums under the table, warning him that Victor is not just interested in quarterly profit. When Victor leans back and casually reaches toward the water carafe, Elias sees a black shimmer coil around his wrist. It slides down his fingers toward the glass like smoke underwater. Lily sees it too. Her eyes widen and she sits up straight. Before Victor touches the glass, the carafe erupts in tiny white flowers. They burst from the water, growing out of the glass surface, blooming in a riot of petals. The water tastes faintly of lemon and pure chaos. Victor jerks his hand back, the shadow around his fingers scattering like dust. Elias clears his throat. Our catering department has very creative presentation ideas, he says coolly. Victor looks at the flowers, then at Lily, then at Elias. Indeed, he says slowly. The rest of the meeting is strained. When it ends, Victor shakes Elias' hand again, the shadow magic banked, but not gone. We will talk soon, Victor says. I feel this partnership will be very productive. His eyes flick to Lily once more. Especially with such promising young talent on your team. After Victor leaves, Lily slumps in her chair and groans. He smells like burnt rubber and bad decisions, she says. Is he one of your friends? He is a useful business connection, Elias says. And an extremely dangerous dark mage. Lily shivers and looks down at her glowing wrist. He looked at this like it was a snack, she says softly. Elias feels his jaw tighten again. He cannot touch you as long as the contract stands, he says. And as long as you stay close to me. Lily raises an eyebrow. So now I am a walking target, and also your magical key ring, she says. Romantic. Elias meets her gaze and for a heartbeat there is no boardroom, no city, just the thin silver line of the bond between them. You are more than that, he says quietly. Samuel coughs from the corner. Shall I prepare additional wards around the tower, sir, he asks. Elias nods. Double them, he says. And schedule a training session for Lily this afternoon, she needs to defend herself. Lily groans. Training, she whines. I thought I would get to explore the city and rate all the coffee shops. If Victor takes you, Elias says, it will not be for coffee. Lily sticks out her lower lip in an exaggerated pout. Fine, she says. But if I survive, you are buying me the biggest pizza in New York. Elias almost smiles. Deal, he says. Back at the tower, the training area looks like a cross between a yoga studio and a secret government lab. There are padded floors, mirrored walls and shelves of charms and spell components neatly labeled in both handwriting and glowing runes. Lily stands in the center of the room wearing leggings, a loose t-shirt and a determined scowl. Elias faces her, wand in one hand, the other tucked behind his back. Samuel watches from a safe distance with a clipboard. We will start with basic shields, Elias says. Raise your hand, focus on the bond and imagine a barrier between you and anything that wants to hurt you. Lily lifts her hand. Her tongue sticks out slightly as she concentrates. A faint shimmer of light appears in front of her, wobbling in the air like a soap bubble. Elias flicks his wand lightly. A harmless pulse of force moves toward her. The bubble shatters into glitter with a sad little sound. Lily flinches and then glares at him. You aimed for my face, she says. Rude. So will your enemies, Elias replies. Again. They repeat the exercise over and over until sweat beads on Lily's forehead and her arms shake. The shield grows stronger each time, the shimmer turning into a thin wall of light that cracks, but does not shatter. When they finally stop, Lily drops onto the mat with a dramatic groan. My everything hurts, she says. Even my hair is tired. Elias sits down across from her, surprisingly aware of how close they are. The mark on his wrist pulses in quiet satisfaction. You did well, he says. For someone who thought mushrooms were an appropriate use of rare potion. Lily throws a towel at him. You saw that, she says. I saw the security report, he replies. And the mushrooms in my office. Lily giggles. They made the room less gloomy, she says. You are welcome. Samuel clears his throat. If it helps, sir, he says. The cursed portrait in the hallway stopped whispering after she put flowers on it. Elias turns slowly. What, he asks. Lily whistles and looks at the ceiling. It was creepy, she says. Now it has daisies. Before Elias can reply, the training room lights flicker. A chill sweeps through the air like a shadow crossing the sun. The mark on Elias' wrist burns hot. Lily winces and grabs her own wrist. Do you feel that, she asks. Elias stands in one smooth motion. Victor is trying again, he says. Stay behind me. The air near the far wall twists and darkens. A tear in the wards opens like a black mouth, and Victor steps through, coat fluttering in a wind that does not touch anything else. His smile is thin and sharp. You did double the wards, Victor says. Cute. Elias lifts his wand, white light gathering at the tip. You are trespassing, he says. Leave now. Victor laughs. You bound a pure-hearted sprite to a curse-breaking contract, he says. Do you have any idea what that is worth in power? Lily shivers but lifts her chin. I am not for sale, she says. And your coat is ugly. Victor flicks his hand. Black vines whip toward her, thorns gleaming. Elias steps in front of her and slams his shield into place. White light flashes and the vines sizzle, burning away. Lily does not think. She raises both hands and calls up every scrap of warmth in her chest, every memory of trees and sunlight and squirrels stealing snacks. Flowers explode from the floor in a rush of color. They wrap around the fading black vines, swallowing them whole. The training room fills with the scent of grass and sugar and old forest rain. Victor snarls. You have no idea how long I have been looking for a spirit like you, he says. And you just waste your power on decoration. Lily glares. It makes people happy, she says. You should try that sometime. Elias takes a step forward, power crackling down his arm. This ends now, he says. You will not touch her, and you will not touch my family legacy. Victor smiles, but there is strain around his eyes now. We will see, he says. He snaps his fingers. The tear in the wards stretches wide, and he steps backward into the dark. The rift snaps shut behind him like a slamming door. The room falls silent except for the sound of Lily's racing breath. Elias lowers his wand slowly. He will come back, Lily says quietly. He wants what is in my heart. Elias turns to face her fully. Then we will make sure he can never take it, he says. He reaches out and gently taps her chest with 2 fingers. That is yours, Lily, he says. Not his, not the curse, not even mine. Her eyes soften. You say that now, she says. But you might change your mind when I drag muddy squirrels across your designer rug again. Elias actually laughs, the sound startled and warm. I already changed, he says. You just have not noticed yet. Weeks pass, and the tower learns to hold both cold finance and warm chaos. Lily gets lost 3 times in the building, befriends the coffee machine, convinces the cleaning staff that the mushrooms in the hallway are part of an art project and starts a lunch club with the interns. Elias pretends to disapprove of all of it. He scolds her for using magic in the break room, and for turning the office ficus into a small forest. Yet he also finds that he smiles more often, that the curse on his family feels less like a sentence, and more like a puzzle they are slowly solving together. At night he studies the old grimoires about the Vandro curse, while Lily sprawls on the couch nearby, watching cooking shows and asking questions. Why does everyone on these shows look so stressed, she asks. Is this a tournament to see who can burn out the fastest? That is basically modern capitalism, Elias replies without looking up. Lily throws a pillow at him. You are unbearable when you are smart, she says. One evening, he finds the clue they have been searching for. The original curse was born not from hatred but from fear. A Vandro ancestor tried to hoard all the family magic, cutting off every other mage from the source. The world pushed back, binding the line to a short brutal lifespan. The only way to break it is to willingly share power with someone who has a heart untouched by greed, someone who will choose to stay even when given the chance to leave. Elias looks up from the page slowly. Lily is asleep on the couch, the squirrel curled on her stomach, her hand resting over the glowing sigil on her wrist. For the first time he understands that this curse will break not in a dramatic flash of lightning, but in a simple choice. His choice. And hers. When Victor attacks for the last time, it is not with a dramatic entrance or a speech. It is with a quiet hack. The alarms in the tower are silent when the lights flicker at 2 in the morning. Lily wakes to the squirrel scratching frantically at her cheek. The hallway outside her room is dark, the usual hum of wards replaced by a low buzzing that makes her stomach twist. She runs barefoot to Elias' door and tries the handle. It is locked. Elias, she calls. No answer. The mark on her wrist throbs, pulling her toward the elevator. She ignores the cold fear sliding down her back and follows it. In the main summoning chamber, Victor stands at the center of the circle, surrounded by stolen power. He has tapped into the foundation stones of the tower, twisting the building wards to his will. Elias is bound at the edge of the circle by black chains of shadow, his eyes burning with fury and worry. Victor smiles when he sees Lily. There you are, he says. The missing component. The contract sigil on Lily's wrist burns so bright it hurts to look at. Let him go, she says. Her voice shakes but her feet do not move. Take me instead if you must. Elias shakes his head, chains rattling. Do not, he says. Victor chuckles. You do not have to offer, he says. The contract already gives me everything I need. He lifts his hands. Black light surges toward Lily, a wave of cold that tastes like ash and regret. Lily closes her eyes. She thinks of the redwoods, of squirrels and sunlight, of Samuel pours tea at dawn, and the interns laughing at her jokes. She thinks of Elias' stubborn face, and the way his eyes soften when he looks at her when he forgets to pretend that he does not care. Then she steps forward into the wave instead of away from it. The magic slams into her and meets the pure bright core of her being like night colliding with sunrise. Light explodes out of her in every direction. Flowers burst from the cracks in the circle, from the walls, from the ceiling. The glass windows bloom with frost traced in delicate leaves. The black chains around Elias shatter and dissolve. Victor screams as the dark magic recoils and devours itself. He falls to his knees, clutching his chest as the stolen power rips free and drains away. When the light fades, he is just a man in a torn suit, gasping on the cold floor. Lily sways where she stands. Her knees buckle. Elias is at her side before she falls, catching her in his arms. Hey, she whispers. Did we win? He looks down at her, at the way the sigil on her wrist has changed. The harsh burns are gone, replaced by a soft glow like moonlight filtered through leaves. Yes, he says. We won. Samuel and a squad of tower mages rush in to contain what is left of Victor. The authorities of the Magical Council arrive soon after, their cloaks swirling, their questions sharp. They take Victor away to face judgment, his power stripped, his arrogance shattered. Elias barely hears them. His whole world has narrowed to the small weight in his arms and the faint rise and fall of her chest. Later, much later, when the tower is calm and the wards hum with a new steadiness, the three of them stand once more in the summoning chamber. Lily looks up at the circle that brought her here. So this is where it started, she says. You tried to order a pure spirit from the universe and got me instead. Elias takes her hand, fingers threading through hers. I thought I needed a tool, he says. I actually needed a partner. The sigils on their wrists glow softly and then, slowly, begin to fade. Lily gasps. The contract, she says. Is it breaking? Samuel smiles, old eyes bright with unshed tears. No, he says. It is changing. The marks vanish, leaving only faint shimmer scars like the memory of light. Elias feels the curse lift from his blood, a weight he did not know he had carried until it disappears. For the first time in his life, the future stretches ahead of him without a dark stop point at 30. Lily wiggles her now bare wrist. So we are free, she says. You can send me back to the forest now if you want. Elias looks at her, really looks. He sees the way her smile wobbles at the edges, the way her fingers tighten around his even as she speaks. Do you want to go, he asks. Lily looks at the glowing city beyond the glass, at the red blinking lights on distant towers, at the faint reflection of herself in the window. She thinks of the forest, of home, of quiet and trees and the comfort of familiar roots. Then she thinks of late-night pizza in the office kitchen, of Samuel knocking on her door with tea, of Elias asleep on the couch with a book still open in his lap. I thought I would, she says carefully. But now I think my roots moved. Elias takes a breath that feels like the first true one he has ever taken. He drops to one knee right there on the summoning circle. Samuel makes a small sound that might be a choked laugh. Lily, Elias says. The contract is gone, but I do not want this bond to end. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out the ring he has carried for days, waiting for the right moment. It is made of pale metal that seems to hold moonlight, and a single stone that glows like captured dawn. I summoned a spirit to break a curse, he says. Instead I found the one person who makes this cursed tower feel like home. Will you stay with me of your own free will, not as a contract, but as my partner in everything? Lily's eyes fill with tears that shimmer like tiny stars. Are you asking me to be your girlfriend? She teases. Elias smiles, almost shy. I am asking you to be my wife one day, he says. But we can start with girlfriend if that scares you less. Lily laughs, the sound bright and wet and beautiful. You are terrible at romance, she says. But I like you anyway. She holds out her hand. Put it on before I change my mind and run off with a squirrel, she adds. Elias slips the ring onto her finger. The moment the metal touches her skin, light flares around them. It is not the harsh blinding light of a summoning, or the sharp burn of a curse. It is gentle and warm, wrapping them both in a cocoon of soft brightness. Somewhere in the tower, the old portraits of the Vandro ancestors crack in their frames. One by one, the painted faces relax into something like peace. Lily throws her arms around Elias' neck. He catches her and spins her once, laughing into her hair. Samuel clears his throat again. Congratulations, sir, he says. And congratulations, Miss Lily. It is just Lily Vandro now, she says with a grin. I am going to need business cards and a key to the snack cabinet. Months later, the world knows two things about the mysterious Elias Vandro that no one would have predicted. First, that he is very much alive and apparently intends to stay that way past 30. Second, that he is completely and unapologetically obsessed with his wife. He is seen carrying her coffee to her in meetings, escorting her through Central Park, while she talks to every squirrel on site and standing in line at food trucks, because she read about them online and decided they are part of her cultural education. Lily accidentally becomes a legend in New York magical circles. Stories spread about the Sprite, who broke a curse with laughter and flowers, about the Wall Street wizard, who will drop a negotiation call if his wife texts him a picture of a cute dog. At home, their life is a chaotic blend of magic and mundane. Lily leaves glowing footprints in the kitchen when she walks in half asleep for midnight snacks. Elias labels all the potions twice, once in Latin and once in big bold letters that say things like do not drink and absolutely not juice. Samuel keeps a running tally of how many times Elias says that Lily is impossible in a fond tone versus an angry one. The bond between them is no longer visible on their skin, but it shows in the way they move through rooms together. When Lily trips over her own feet, Elias is already there to catch her. When Elias gets lost in strategy and spreadsheets, Lily appears with pizza and a ridiculous meme, dragging him back to the present. One evening, as the sun sets behind the city and bathes the tower in golden light, Lily stands at the balcony railing and looks out over Manhattan. Do you ever miss the forest? Elias asks softly as he joins her. She leans into his side without thinking. Sometimes, she says. When it is too loud and the concrete feels heavy and I forget what real stars look like. He nods. And she smiles up at him. And then you do something stupid like arguing with a squirrel about my attention, she says. And I remember that home is not always trees and dirt. Sometimes it is ridiculous wizards, who pretend they do not care, and secretly schedule their meetings around my snack time. Elias kisses her temple. That is slander, he says. I schedule them around your nap time as well. Lily giggles. You are definitely a wizard of priorities, she says. Below them, the city roars and glitters. Above them, the sky deepens toward night. Between those two wild worlds, a former curse-bound heir and a once-lost forest sprite stand shoulder to shoulder on their shared balcony. Their life is messy, loud and frequently on fire, literally and metaphorically. It is also, somehow, exactly right.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.